Holy moly, I'm back in the usual lab here and massively jet lagged, but there are many things to be speaking about on Bitcoin here, especially in the short term. As you do remember from a few days ago, we said that, hey, this correction when Bitcoin was coming down, especially below about 94,000 bucks, this is no longer a correction. This one has like actual downside. And since then, we've seen another more than $10,000 move to the downside with Bitcoin finding a low yesterday, right around about 82,000 bucks. And while I do still remain cautious on the higher term timeframes, in the short term, Bitcoin likely to set up for a bounce here. So that is going to be the topic of today. And I should once again repeat that I really am massively jet lagged right now. I have no idea. I have no sense of time at this moment. Who knows when this video is going out, but we'll do our best. Anyways, looking at the daily right here, Bitcoin did hit close enough, I would say, to that white moving average. That white moving average is a 200 simple moving average, and a very common place for actually any time frame to bounce, especially a higher term time frame like this, the daily. And so that does make me consider that Bitcoin is going to play out a bit of a bounce phase here after pretty much an unabated move to the downside since the 21st of February, which Bitcoin was nearly 100,000 bucks, and then straight down over the past week. So with that in mind, how high can this bounce go and where do things kind of come in around? Well, for that, I would first reference the MetaSignal setup over here. They fired this one off, I believe, for free in their Discord, which you can find a link to in the description below. Again, the first target for these setups has a very, very high probability. I think just around about 70% probability, and it's already been hit as this one did fire off when Bitcoin was trading at 85,830. Target one was 86,800, which I do believe has already been met. Let me just double check. 86,700, very, very close right there. So, probably does give another spike up to fulfill that. But the next thing that I'm interested in, of course, are target number 2 and target number 3, because we have objective numbers alongside probabilities with those numbers. Target number 2 would be at 87,450. If memory serves me correctly, target number 2 hit rate is around 50% for Bitcoin, and target number 3 is all the way actually above 90,000 bucks. So that would kind of make this pretty big bounce. But that does have actually a rather low probability, I believe around about 30%. So I'd actually have to reference their numbers, but just kind of give you an idea of the likelihood of these levels on this bounce. Again, a nearly $20,000 move unabated to the downside since what was this? Was this last Friday? Yeah. No. Yes. Oh my God. I can't think. Anyways, we can also draw some fibs. Whoops. We can also draw some fib retracements here to see where potentially that might go. And well, actually the 382 is already at 88,300. So I do think it'll at least get there on a bounce. If it's very bearish, you'll see a high there. You'll see it turn back down. Of course, the traditional sort of trappy regions would be around here, around the 618, which is 92,400. And then the 50% retracement level, by the way, is pretty much around the third target on this one. This was a 2-hour time frame setup. So, it's not supposed to be like a massive, humongous winner, although I guess that would be like a, $4,000 move, $5,000 move, $5,000 move, something like that. Anyways, math is going to be very, very difficult right now. So yes, in the short term, Bitcoin very likely to bounce. I know a lot of people have been speaking about this already, I'm sure, but the crypto fear and greed index, which I don't really care to reference unless if it's a kind of pivotal event, is at a 20 right here, which is more fearful than this whole data set right here going back to July of 2023. So that would be the past basically 2 years. This is the most fearful the market has been, even more fearful than what we did see in September of 2024 when Bitcoin came down back around, I think it was low 50s. Anyways, I know that people have issues with this crypto fear and greed index, so we can look at the other one that everyone looks at, which is the regular one, if you want to call it that. And this one actually is even much lower at about 10, or not about 10, but literally 10, which is extreme fear. And we don't have a chart here for this one, unfortunately, at least. Oh, actually, we do have a chart for this one, but yeah, same thing as the last. All right, this one doesn't even give, too much information. Okay, now we have max. Now we have a lot more information. Yeah, this is the lowest level since June of 2022. June of 2022, I believe, was that FTX collapse? No, that was in November. So that must have been like Luna or something. I'm sure. That, for reference here, was very near the end of the previous bear market when Bitcoin was right around here trading at 20,000 bucks. So yeah, that was the Luna collapse, I do believe, in 3AC, something like that. Anyways, yes. So Bitcoin likely to bounce off these levels first. In other words, I think that Bitcoin's done going to the downside for this month, February. But the problem is this month expires tomorrow. So I do want to, again, express concern on the higher term timeframes for a deeper cut. But for right now, Bitcoin more likely to bounce, I would say at least 88,300. And potential for more, into this first week of March. But as we went over in yesterday's March low statistics, if Bitcoin is going to be bearish, we expect the high of the month very early on within the month. Around the first week. So, does Bitcoin rally for the first week of March and get somewhere around 90 to 92,000 bucks and then turns back down? Very possible here. Of course, in the very, very short term, if we go down to a 4-hour time frame, is there any bullish divergence here? There is some bullish divergence on the 4-hour time frame. I wouldn't be surprised, however, if it did come back down and retest somewhere around the current low, let's say like 84 to 83,000 bucks. But still, that would very likely be the third drive of bullish divergence here. Again, suggesting that this thing is very likely to bounce. We'll see the 4-hour jewel having the signal in the background and also getting a continuation signal right here. So very, very likely good for an extension of this bounce alongside volatility contracting from extreme extremes, which I imagine is probably also on the daily as well. Yeah, actually still expanding on the daily. Anyways, yes, so that was all the short term. So what am I trying to say? Bitcoin probably going to bounce here into the first week of March, but things are setting up on the other side for not the best, let's say. First, I want to acknowledge that all higher term timeframes, daily and above, are showing downside momentum, which you very rarely see every fucking time frame on the same side. Daily time frame is right here, showing downside as long as Bitcoin's below 91,000 bucks. Again, that will change upon tonight's closure, but for now, still down. 2-day time frame is also going to be down as long as Bitcoin's below 88,500. The 3-day time frame is also going to be down as long as Bitcoin is below 91,800. The 5-day time frame is also going to be down as long as Bitcoin is below 96,750. The weekly time frame is also going to be down as long as Bitcoin's below 105,000 US dollars. The 10-day time frame is also going to be down as long as Bitcoin's below 98,550 as well. The 2-week time frame is also going to be showing downside as long as Bitcoin's below 100,000 bucks. The 3-week time, should I keep on going? 3-week time frame already, also down as well. And then the monthly time frame, again, closing tomorrow night, not tonight, but tomorrow night, Friday night, is going to be freshly crossing down if Bitcoin closes again tomorrow night below 92,750. This one actually really bothers me because not only would it be turning down right here, this would also be confirming bearish divergence on the monthly stochastic oscillator. Also would confirm bearish divergence, I believe, for the monthly RSI. Yeah, I mean, that's seems very likely there. But again, a lot can happen in I guess, almost 2 days of trading or 1.5 days of trading. So we'll see. But as of right now, Bitcoin is also below a key moving average on the monthly, which is that red 5 exponential moving average right here. If Bitcoin closed below, I would be expecting a correction somewhere down around somewhere close to the yellow moving average, which is a 21 exponential moving average. Again, that will change when we do come into March. It should rise up at least a few $1,000, I would imagine. So we'll see where that one is. But if Bitcoin does close below, yeah, we're probably going to get a move like this, where it closed below, boom, you get a move down very close to the 21, and that would be very likely an extremely strong bounce, maybe even the low. But as I said in yesterday's video, or maybe it was the day prior than that, I am kind of preparing for like a mini bear market here, similar to what we saw in 2021, where Bitcoin hit that first high at 65,000 bucks, comes down for about 4 or 5 months, about 3-4 months, consolidates, and then puts in another move to the upside near the end of the year. Maybe that move makes a new all-time high, maybe it doesn't, I don't know, but that's kind of what I'm thinking from here. I do think that this market is going to be taking some time, and does that extend the cycle? I'd be very open to that. But I am looking at this as a major top right here. Not necessarily a cycle top. I think it's way too early to, I guess not super early, but it is early to kind of suggest that. But I do think it's a major top that will take, a few months to kind of work off of. So yeah. Anyways, also of concern, the real concern that you should be having is that there's a bear moon coming up soon. So if you're new here, you probably don't understand this. If you're also not new here, you probably hate this because it seems to be very incendiary. But this is the moon chart, and well, Bitcoin is 15 days out from the past full moon, which is typically a more bullish time, if you will. It did have that move to nearly $100,000, but not what I think most people, myself included, were looking for. And then more importantly, breaking down soon after that. So this is, about to print the traditionally bad moon. Just again, bear with me here. But just visually backtest this, by looking at the chart, you can see more often than not, it has been a pretty damn good indication. Now that takes 2 weeks to play out. So again, that could very easily align with a rally into the first week of March. But then after that, coming back down is kind of what I'm thinking here. Moving on from there, I should also go over just this thing again. Look, I'm not going to be talking about any sort of major potential for long-term long positions, and the market is in a position to potentially even make new highs until at minimum we get the daily buy signal on the hash rate indicator. Until that happens, I think that long positions are very, very risky. I've been saying this now since we started covering this indicator here about a couple weeks ago. Again, it's in the background. At some point, it will happen, but Bitcoin can come down significantly more before that does happen. And looking at the way that this is reacted right here, we can see the red line, which is kind of like the, it's not the signal line, but it's the one that matters for printing the blue buy signal, which needs to cross back down below the gray line. That one has not just moved away from it, it's moved away from it a lot, meaning that, this is potentially going to take a very long time. Probably closer to the average of how long these signals typically do take, which is around a little over a month. This past one happened, well, I guess it happened early February, so shouldn't be too far away then, I suppose. But I should also note that this particular signal right here is quite similar to a signal that we've seen in the past, this red one over here. Very, very similar, has a capitulation. You see that first big move up, pops back down, and then the big one, the big explosion before the buy signal, which happened significantly later in this case. Let me actually just double check. This one happening, it's over 3 months after it. But what was that price action? That was this segment right here, where Bitcoin was coming off of that, that prior all-time high, comes down on that first move. That's kind of where we're at right now. Pops back up, spends some time going sideways, and then has the real big move to the downside. So that's kind of what I do think is at stake, as long as we don't see that blue buy signal. But if we get that blue buy signal, whenever it happens, which probably not going to be anytime soon, then I'm gonna be generally looking for long-term long positions. Until then, that alongside another very simple thing over here, just daily bullish divergence. I'm not going to be calling like a potential low for this move. Do I think Bitcoin's going to bounce here? Yes. Is a bounce the same thing as like the low for a reversal that'll never see that level of again? Obviously fucking not. But yeah, looking at the daily right here, the daily RSI did make new lows with this move. In fact, it made it made lower lows than anything that we've seen in the past few years. In fact, all the way back to August of 2023 is where we have to go. Lower than what we saw during the August dump, lower than what we saw during the June dump. So there's quite literally no potential, even possible way for this one to have bullish divergence as it stands right now. It would have to, first have this bounce here, then Bitcoin comes down and would have to make a new price low alongside a higher low on the RSI, something like this. And then you got some bullish divergence. And at that point, I'd be looking for potentially the bounce. And if we get this signal alongside of it, I would say that's probably good enough for me. Anyways, just referencing my notes over here. Yeah, I think we got everything that I wanted to get on this one. Feels good to be back, but it also feels pretty shitty because one, Florida is fucking great. It's really amazing. I think we're going to move there. And And two, I really am so jet lagged. It's actually insane. I don't know how people do this. I have a few friends who fly all the time, and it's like, how, you are not a human. You're actually not a human. Anyways, that's where we'll end for today. As always, I'd like to wish you the best. Take care. Much love. And see you hopefully tomorrow, maybe even with a live stream if I can wake up at a more normal hour.